before I leave secondary school, and it's a 3-chapter book. I want to thank the author for remaining calm and dogged in writing the book. For those of us who have had the opportunity of writing books, we have asked ourselves, at what point do people even read the books? And I must say that it's unfortunate that an economy like Nigeria or anywhere in Africa that wants to develop still finds it difficult to sit down and read. So I keep wondering, how do you hope to develop? How do you become better when you are not interacting with the rest of the world? I must say that no matter how good you are, no matter what you think you have, one thing is very clear. For anything practical, anything at all, from where you're sitting to the things you're hearing, for anything practical, there is a theorem behind it. It is going to be sustainable. I've heard people contest and debate the issue in Africa that no, we don't need it, we want something practical. And it's a deception, please. It's a deception. If you want anything sustainable, for anything practical, there is a theory behind it. And so it's important to understudy this, and I think the book is very relevant at this point in time to prepare our students as they work towards leaving school. Even though the book by the author, and from the title you can see that it's referred to secondary school students, but anyone who picks the book will soon realize that we're not talking to secondary school students. We are actually talking to people who want to remain relevant in an ever-changing world. Technology has made the world flat. The meaning here is that with the touch of a button, you can actually get across to anyone and anywhere in the world. And here in the book, the author is reminding all of us that it is not about where you're coming from. It's not about even the school you're going through. It is about the relevance of what skill you have. So you will soon discover that it's not a book for secondary school students alone. I have taken time to review this and look at a few things. Number one, the book is chaptered into 3. I had my reservations. I'll share that with us. And with 3 chapters, you have different topics that have been taken from it. From chapter 1, the first thing the author did was to remind us of the skills, and I love the word he used, we must have. So it's a skill that's not negotiable. It's not a skill that you think you might have, but it is a skill you must have. Not only for students leaving the secondary school, but anyone who wants to be relevant in our society. And the first thing he talked about was reading and writing. I thought he was going to stop at reading and writing, and then he took us to listening. Probably what the author didn't know was the fact that the United Nations have even made a mistake in defining literacy. And the definition for the United Nations is that literacy is reading and writing. But the author has actually taken us further to remind us that it's not just reading and writing. Listening and speaking is a major component of literacy. It's so sad that many of us do not realize that we actually have issues with listening. And so the author said, yes, you need to read, but you need to also write or articulate your position clearly. Then he took us to the point where we needed to also learn to listen. I have had trainings where I have talked to people about the power of listening, and I discovered that one of the mistakes we attempt to always expose ourselves to is every time somebody is talking to you, instead of attempting to listen, you are actually attempting to reply. And so you lose out completely from what was needed for you. Again, I'll share with you the fact that a member of the House of Assembly at one of the tenures in this state had to accept that he needed to be trained on how to speak in public and also listen. I charged him some good money just to teach him how to listen and speak. In fact, I was wondering how he got to the house. And through our counseling session with this member of House of Assembly, I soon discovered that While he was in secondary school and had a group of friends, that they came back for holiday and they were having just a normal discussion. Somehow, because he was not listening, as soon as they touched him, he now made a statement that was totally out of the discussion. And everybody just laughed. Now that laughter closed the man all those years, and he couldn't express himself. So in this book, you find the author reminding us of the importance of also taking time to listen. I'm happy with what the way he structured the book. You must learn to read, you must also learn to write. One of the things you will discover in our generation is that we seem to be a talking generation, but the quality of our writing is so sound. As a consultant and trainer, I had the opportunity of working with ITF on a project. And they had given out an opportunity for people to have loans. And they asked people to write a simple story about their businesses. It's so sad to find out that by the time we were reading the stories to the DG ITF, he was wondering whether they were just secondary school students. No, I said to him, these were people from a first degree and sometimes a master's degree holders. Please, what you do on the Facebook is not writing. It's called chatting. So don't assume that what you write on the Facebook, what you do on the Facebook is actually writing. Again, you will find out in this book. Then he took us to the last portion in chapter 1, which has to do with thinking and problem-solving skills. We live in a world that it's no longer news when you talk about the number of problems we all have. And that is why I tell young people everywhere I go to that it is not true that there are no jobs. If jobs were created to solve problems and Nigeria is filled with problems, then it's not justifiable to say that there are no jobs. Maybe we are not thinking. And again, the author took us back to what does it really mean to think? What does it really mean to think? Now, it's easy for you to worry. It's easy for you to highlight problems. But truly, by definition of thinking, it takes you closer to solutions. So if you're going to be thinking, you are going to be getting closer to solution, but it's okay to worry because it simply expands your problems. And the book is saying, no, you don't have to just worry. Now, the author is not denying the fact that there are problems. He's only saying this is the way out. Again, I have the rare opportunity to deal with problem-solving skills during some of my trainings. And I've given scenarios to people and I've asked them, what do you do when you have this problem? This is my conclusion on this. Most people have issues with their lives because they always assume there's only one solution to a problem. Thinking skills, thinking and problem-solving skills totally disagrees with that. It's not true that you only have one way to solve a problem. Again, since you didn't pay me to read the book, I'm highlighting it for you. Then chapter 2 takes us to the question of attitude. Ladies and gentlemen, the author made a very clear statement about attitude. And the fact is that no matter where you are, if the attitude is wrong, you don't go any further positively. So you need to ask yourself, what kind of attitude do you carry? This also reflects to the fact that it is a personal decision. You can't tell us because the situation is bad, that is why you have to behave this way. It is a sign of weakness and immaturity. And so the author is saying you need to develop a conscious attitude if you will make the right decisions and also be able to get the results you want. And what are these behaviors or attitudes that you need to work on? Number one is a consciousness of entrepreneurship. I like the fact that he didn't put it as a skill, but he put it as an attitude. So that it's not something that you just learn and drop. Entrepreneurship is at the heart of every development, everything new. You are sitting on a product of entrepreneurship. You are wearing a product of entrepreneurship. You're representation of where a country will ever be and where a country is at the moment. In fact, countries have been divided not just by technology, but by the entrepreneurial spirit of its own people. And so for those of us who are leaving school, start thinking of what you can do to solve human problems. In fact, in modern entrepreneurship, we have gone beyond finding needs to solve. We can trigger wants. I wish we had more time to talk about that. We can trigger it. We can make people want to get through to that. So it's important that we understand that. And he merged that topic with independence. Now, for you to be an independent person, you need to be aware of the responsibilities that you are capable of carrying. Unfortunately, this is our generation that you find people in Africa and possibly in Nigeria at 40, who still not only live under their parents, but come in and ask, what have they put today? I've seen people at 40 asking their parents, please challenge yourselves that at 18, 19, 20, you are becoming independent, that you are a child or someone who has grown to add to your own homes, not just to take from your own homes. That's what the author is telling us. Then he also says we should learn to respect work. In that chapter, it's important that if you're going to make any headway, you must respect work. And the author is reminding us that it is not just about the identity of the work, it is the beauty of adding productivity in your life. Have you noticed there are more Indians and more Arabs coming into Jos? Are you also aware that they are beginning to take very specific things that they are doing? They don't really matter. Haven't you seen an Egyptian in this town who goes on a bike trying to sell pots? Yes. So we must learn. It's outdated to say it's our area. It's simply your solution. That's the fight you should be working on. The last chapter talks about our national identity. I love this chapter because this is where you must ask yourself whether you are ready to even give anything to this nation. Now, young people and all of us who are here, we live in a fractured country. There's no doubt about it. We live in a country that sometimes we begin to ask ourselves whether it's even worth it, giving the best we can. But remember, we're also personally responsible. So while we complain, let's do also the right thing that can help us. If you lose the identity of your culture and history, you don't have where to contribute. Then he talks about healthy living and sexual health. It's important for all of us to understand that no matter how good your ideas are, you need a healthy body to carry it. Today, people are introducing substances into their bodies that will destroy you. Just when you are at your peak, when you are making all the money, then the body reminds you that you maltreated me, so you need to go. Please be careful what you eat. Don't eat to die. Eat to live. Choose what you eat. The book will give us more on that. And of course, our sexuality, and then the question of relationships and dating. We cannot deny it. These children are growing. Those who are older, I think we can responsibly start talking about sexuality. And totally, I agree with the author on this. In my conclusion, an effective review also gives the author, the reviewer, the opportunity to share his own ideas. I must say that I've tried to do that somewhere and I never got invited again. So I'm wondering, should I or should I just forget it? So that, let me say this. I think the author did a little disservice to us by making it into 3 chapters. It's actually a 9-chapter book. And I think he can help us do a lot. Every of the units is a whole chapter.